That's probably where he belonged because he was crazy and they probably need to put his ass on some kind of medications before he tried to kill somebody else. He said that's where he stayed all day, every day. And he was very lonely. Very, very lonely. I'm lonely in here. I don't have nobody else to jump on and jump.
I don't hear nobody out there. Hold it down. Hold it down.
Making our way when you can. Temporary layoffs, good times. Even credit rip-offs, good times. Stretching and surviving, good times. Hanging in the desert, good times. Ain't we lucky we got 'em? Boom, 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 boom. Good times. Andress wasn't like anything I had ever seen in Yonkers. It was a very old countryside-looking place. There were big church-like buildings everywhere where the kids took classes. The living quarters were organized in cottages or halls and sat on the side of this big green field. The counselor that had taken us on a tour explained to my mother that Julia Dykeman Andress prided itself on rehabilitating children who were unable to make it within the regular school system. We had a place like that back home. I don't know if it's still open, but it was DC Street Academy, okay? It was the alternative. After every child and got kicked out of every DC public school, and if you couldn't get into a Maryland school, then the next step was DC Street Academy. For whatever reason, they could not make it in a regular DC public school. A lot of kids just didn't want to go to school. That was me. But like I told y'all, when they hit me with, "Oh, Nay, you ain't gonna graduate," Nay got herself together. And plus, my mother was exceptionally beautiful, so she was able to go down there and talk to them mills that ran Theodore Roosevelt and got my ass. I'm sure that all areas have a place for children to get their either GED or their diploma or whatever the case is. My dad didn't graduate from Dunbar and ended up going to Armstrong. That's another alternative high school. I didn't see any black people. I remember really not wanting to go there until the counselor started talking about trips. That spring, the school took us to Lake George, and the Great Escape roller coaster was definitely as much fun as the counselor said it would be. I remember I fell into this heavy crush on this girl when we were up there. I don't remember what her name was. I just remember getting this sick feeling in my stomach. If I was older, I probably would have realized that feeling meant I wanted to screw. But at 10 years old, I had no idea about sex. I mean, I had barely hit puberty. After spending that first day at the amusement park, they took us down to the water, and I just spent the rest of my time catching frogs. Surprisingly, the best times for me at Andress weren't when we went away somewhere. They were when we had family visits. "Hi, man," my mother would say. Whenever she was happy to see me, my mother used to call me her little man. "How are you doing? I miss my little man." "Okay, well, I'm glad to see this little small instance of something other than him being mad at his mammy, because I didn't say it before. Goddamn. Just like an episode of Good Times. Ain't we lucky we got 'em? Bun, dun, 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 dun. Good times. Like how in Good Times, every single episode was about some drama. Them ninjas ain't never have a good day. Never. It would start out magnificent sometimes, okay? But that shit's always ended up disappointing. I don't even understand how a show like this ran for as many years as it did. It was just about the struggling black family. It was annoying. You know, I mean, as a child, we would look at it as, okay, let's see what JJ is doing today. Okay, because he was the comedic relief on the show. But overall, the show was about depression. Let me shut up. Because now it seemed like all the shows are. Remember that show, Malcolm in the Middle? And, you know what other show is like that? Shameless. The 70s, it's just hard to believe that they were selling that black oppression and we bought this shit. How are you doing? I miss my little man. By this time, my mother had another little girl named Shayla. She was born when I was 6. And when my mother would bring her and my sister Benita up to the campus, the 4 of us would hang out together. It was like my mother liked me when I was at Andress. Okay, some of you guys in the comments had said that the mother eventually was diagnosed schizophrenic. That makes sense. Because you can't tell me that goddamn dark man X ain't schizophrenic himself. Because mental illness can be hereditary. Okay? Unless you then, woke up one day, decided to smoke a dipper, went on a trip and ain't never come back, because that shit can happen too. I do believe that there are times where a parent bullies their child. They've done it so much and so easily that they don't even know how to get out of the cycle of bullying their child, where it just seems like every day that's just a part of their day, bullying their child, especially if it's some kind of mental illness going on. And they can bully that child forever. I mean, ever, and a child can become a victim of that, and it manifests in their behavior and how they assimilate themselves into the world. People walk over them. They tend to get taken advantage of. They have misplaced anger. It's all kinds of things that happen to children who are victims of bullying by their parents. Okay? And one of them is they just never feel loved. Andress had mostly white kids, but race wasn't an issue for me. Maybe because of how many kids wouldn't mess with me growing up. I told my mother that I would be cool with anyone who was cool with me. It didn't matter whether they were black, white, brown, or purple. The first white kid I ever really knew was a kid from my hood called Anthony Butler. He was bad like me, and occasionally him and I would hang out together in his house on Oak Street. Well, one afternoon, his mother was home and all hell broke loose. The mammy was a racist. Get this ninja up out of my house. I'm sure whoever the little boy is, what's his name? Mr. Anthony Butler, I'm sure he done dived into some black vagina. I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Anthony Butler ain't had black children. Because when DMX left the house, the dude Anthony came outside and was like, fuck her. Ain't nobody paying attention to her. We know that's a little John B. or Robin Thicke. Anthony was cool about it. He didn't care that his mother was a racist or what she thought about him having black friends. A few minutes later, he just came outside, called his mother a name, and the 2 of us went off and hung out. So I had no problem with my roommate at Andress being a chubby white kid from Long Island, or the fact that he played the song Stairway to Heaven every night on his record player. Glenn and I got along pretty well. He was the person who showed me how to smoke a cigarette and later would show me how to get high. So that's probably why the first few months at Andress went by pretty fast. Adam was this Chinese kid who lived in the cottage next to mine. He was a year older than I was, but for some reason, we were always assigned to the same chores. And from the first day I met him, I didn't like him. It wasn't because he was Chinese. There was just something about the way he looked at me that bothered me. We were similar in a lot of ways, so maybe that was it. But I don't think Adam could accept the fact that I was as smart as he was. So he always competed with me, like he always had something to prove. Because of that, Adam and I would always argue, at least once or twice a week. Our arguing would turn into fistfights. But on this day, instead of arguing, Adam and I spent our time getting creative. We dreamed up all kinds of crazy stuff we could do around campus, and then for some reason we thought about setting the basement floor on fire. We thought up a plan. 24 hours later, after the whole building almost burned down, Andress charged me with arson. They knew it was an accident, but they said that one of the janitors heard me say, "Where's the match?" And that was the evidence that they used against me. I don't understand why, if it was an accident or not, you and your friend setting the floor on fire. You said, "Okay, let's go. Where's the match?" The janitor heard you say, "Where's the match?" And 24 hours later, the building almost burned down in flames. But Adam wasn't charged. It seemed the janitor didn't hear him say anything, so he got away with it altogether. I'm lost. But Adam wasn't charged. It seemed the janitor didn't hear him say anything, so he got away with it altogether. That's when I decided that I hated him. Right away, we started fighting again, and after our third fight, in as many days, it became a major problem. I didn't want to shake his hand and say it was over like the teachers wanted me to. That was bullshit. It wasn't over for me. I don't like you, mother sucker, and I'm going to kill you. When he walked away, something just hit me. See, all these years, I had thought about American without being able to do anything about it. But now I was old enough to pull it off. So I just got out my chair, went to Adam's table, and grabbed him in a chokehold. This ninja choked the boy till he lost consciousness. His face was blue, just like the flame, and he was already unconscious. When the teachers revived him a few seconds later, all the blood started gushing out of his nose. After that, they put his ass in the infirmary. You can't hang around other children. You too dangerous. You kill DMX. You want to kill. So we got to get you away from the other kids. But they put him in an infirmary. That's probably where he belonged, because he was crazy, and they probably need to put his ass on some kind of medications before he tried to kill somebody else. He said that's where he stayed all day, every day. And he was very lonely.
Very, very lonely. I'm lonely in here. I don't have nobody else to jump on and choke.
I started feeling like a caged animal. I was trapped. There was nothing that I could do or say to get out of that office. I began to listen to my instincts, and my anger started to explode. Not only did I stop giving a F about everyone and everything around me, I began to believe all the bad that was ever said about me. Earl is manipulative. Earl is a problem. Earl has made his bed hard, and I swore that I would have the last laugh. When I came home, I made sure that I lived up to that reckless reputation.
My favorite go-go song. Taking a ride on the east side, made a left on MLK. What a beautiful day, what a beautiful day. Riding high on the west side, looking for a hood rat to play. Won't you come out and play? Won't you come out and play? Hey, taking a ride. Hey, hey, on the south side. Ooh, ooh. Hey, hey, hey. We like that good. Say what?